Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are talking about Real Madrid. Now, we didn't have the El Clásico reaction going up. I wanted to. I couldn't at the time. I did something on Friday, so I just was laying down. By the way, I watched the game with my dad. What a game. That game was insane. I was on the edge of my seat because the first part of the game was a bit boring, and then once we got towards like the middle of the first half, and I tell you, man, I was getting some hate because I tweeted out that, like, man, there's nothing like an El Clásico. For me, I know we don't have Ronaldo, we don't have Messi, we don't have that aura walkout that you see from Inter Milan versus Milan back in the day, or, the Real Madrid Barcelonas. But man, for me, it's still the most elevated game of football. And I was talking about it with my dad. Like, my dad knows ball too. He was saying, like, he's like, man, the quality on these two teams compared to watching the Premier League games, the players on these teams, man, it's crazy. He couldn't even believe, because he hasn't really followed the teams in like a year or two. He couldn't even believe how many of the big level players he knew, like Jude Bellingham, and these crazy players now have been like in Spain and on these teams. Like, he knows all these guys. So he was like, man, this is really like, Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavaliers, like, of the NBA 10 years ago, because, man, you got all the stars really playing in this league. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And let's talk about it. So, like, for me, the Clásico, I thought it was a really good game, and I thought the game could have gone either way. One of the highlights for me of this game was how well Vinicius Jr. played. I thought Vini played so well in this game. And I really liked what I saw just in terms of him building, a good game there in a big moment. For me, if Vini did, Mbappe obviously was injured. If Vini didn't play in this game, Real Madrid would have got absolutely cooked. But Barcelona, this is why I still am not ready to declare. Last year I was more comfortable with Barcelona winning the Champions League than I am this year. I'm still not ready to, like, declare them. Yeah, they're a favorite, but I don't trust their back line still. And Vini was going 1v4. I mean, it was the Vini we all know. And there was a couple chances where Gonzalo Garcia in the first half, man, what was that shot? Vini in the first half. I know I just said he was playing good, but that's what you get with Vini. He's going to have one P-roller of a shot that you're like, how did he not even put shot power on that? You go to the end of the game with Real Madrid, the amount of chances they had in the last 2 minutes. And this is why Barca, to me, are so shaky. And when Barca is going to match that team like Inter Milan last year that's going to play a perfect game on the counter, they might be in trouble. Now, Barcelona's got all the ballers. They're a better overall team. They are. They got Hansi Flick, who I think has now not lost in a final in like 9 or 10 finals. But look, for me, Real Madrid played the game tactically. I know it was a bit defensive. I know it wasn't what the Madrid fans wanted, but going into that game, they played the best way to get themselves to win. And let's be honest, bro, they could have won that game. I don't want to hear anything differently from anybody. Real Madrid had 3 to 4 chances that if they went differently, they'd have 3 or 4 goals in this game. And they didn't. They didn't convert their chances. So what happens after the game? Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid. We're going to pull it up right now for you guys. We get this on Twitter the next day from the Real Madrid official account. I mean, I really was, like, shocked, to be honest. So, official statement, Xabi Alonso, and it says, you read it, because everybody's on Twitter like, oh, he got fired. Look, Real Madrid announced that by mutual agreement between the club and Xabi Alonso, it's been decided to end his time as first-team coach. It was a short but respectful, departing message. But I got left with this instant confusion because Real Madrid, for me, have not been playing good football for a few years now. They have a big locker room problem, in my opinion. That doesn't mean that's necessarily what they have, but they have an ego problem. And I felt like Xabi Alonso was pretty much doing a good job this year. I mean, you look at how they've been doing in the table, and with the players they've been bringing in. I still think they need pieces. They've cleaned it up defensively so much this year. Only 17 against in 19 games. 2 losses in the league, and let's be honest, guys, with the amount of time left to play, more than fully in the title race. More than fully. Now, you could say Mbappe's carrying. That's probably true. But, seeing what Xabi Alonso, you can start to see a little bit more of a style with this team. I felt like in the last couple of years, Ancelotti reminded me of the coach you always had in your youth that kind of just said, like, go out there and play. My high school coach was like that. We had a couple good players on our team, and we didn't have any tactics. He just was like, he just would, chuck us out there and play. And sometimes that works better. With superstars and a good levels of players, I think it doesn't work too bad. But, at this level, you need the tactical instruction. You need that from your manager. And I felt like Ancelotti was living off a lot of his previous success. I'm not saying anything about him as a manager, but I have personally, as a neutral, liked more of what I've seen this season as a building block for Xabi Alonso. And I said this the other day with Amarim. I don't like sacking a manager when you're in a position to, let's say in United's case, get top four. For me, guys, this was a huge building season for Xabi Alonso. And so that's where we haven't really seen any official reports. We don't really know what actually happened. People are theorizing, like I'll pull up some stuff that people are saying, but I don't think anybody actually knows what's kind of been going on behind closed doors. There's been rumors that Xabi Alonso didn't get the signings that he wanted. He's been frustrated. You know, that's a big deal with managers. We see a lot of managers go on their way out. Big deal when managers don't get what they want, or at least half of what they want. It builds this frustration. It's like in a relationship. If you don't communicate with somebody, man, that just builds under the table, and at some point it just erupts, right? And that can happen a lot of the time with these managers and the club owners. It just builds when they don't get what they want. They get more frustrated. They ignore it. They get more frustrated. Then after the loss, it gets even worse. So, look, they signed Arbeloa. Literally, the here we go was, I think, the literally the second after, because I was saying, I made it as a joke, and I was like, oh, let's bring in, if you guys go on my Twitter, you'll see I put something of Amarim that went crazy, to be honest, just as a joke. Obviously they're not gonna sign Amarim, but 17,000 likes, right? So Sunday, Barcelona beat Real Madrid in El Clásico. Monday, Xabi Alonso no longer Real Madrid manager, and then they get, guys, this is what we're gonna talk about here, okay? I watched this game, all right? I watched this game, okay? Now, statistically, and from watching the game, obviously Real Madrid got unlucky, right? They did get unlucky, okay? The lineup they went out with, look, it's a younger lineup, more than capable, guys, of beating a team. Let me explain to you this. This team is in 17th place with 9 losses, okay? So fringe relegation team in the second division, okay? That's how bad this loss was. So let me say this to the Real Madrid, association fans, pundits, that's not a good look. And especially to Perez and these guys. Look, you can say whatever you want. Oh, Real Madrid wins all these UCLs. That's true, man. It's the most prestigious club of all time. It is, man, with how much they've won. But it's not a good look, man. In my opinion, you're competing for the La Liga. You play Barcelona, who is just a better team than you right now. They are. They have the GOAT manager right now, in my opinion. Hansi Flick's the best manager with Enrique. I still think Hansi Flick is just, I love him, dude. I love him. He's a freaking winner. Okay? So you go hand to hand. You have chances in the end of the game to win the game for the trophy. You're right in the game, right? This is not one of these recent Real Madrid Barcelonas where Barca's just cooking Real Madrid, because that's been happening. It used to happen a lot. I used to shit on Barcelona. That's why people get me wrong as a Barca fan. Real Madrid used to bend Barcelona over 5 to 6 years ago, and everybody was memeing Barca. Barca had a really tough time, and it's kind of flipped. The last couple of Clásicos, I felt like Barca really just controlled the games. They controlled this game, but Real Madrid was in the game to win. And that starts with the manager, and that starts with the game plan, and that starts with the tactics and the discipline of the players buying into that game plan. You think Vinny Jr., you think Rodrigo, you think Jude Bellingham, you think these guys want to play like Prime Simeone? Absolutely not, bro. But they know that was their best chance with their current team to go out there and win. And they were more in a position to win. If Vinny had another one of those chances going, Gonzalo Garcia's had another one of those great chances going, if Mbappe was healthy. Mbappe wasn't even healthy. He didn't even touch the ball when he got subbed in. They said he took pain injections to play. Okay? So if the decision from Real Madrid was to fire Xabi Alonso, it's the wrong decision. The other side of it is that I'm starting to feel like, I haven't really read anything, guys, so I'm not even going to make any crazy statements, okay? The other side of it is that from what I read, and this was a quote. Well, this is going to make me jump around. What do I want to see here? Okay, so this was reported. The relationship between Xabi Alonso and the players have been difficult from the start. Okay, what's not going to be difficult about a bunch of egos in the locker room getting bossed around and play a certain way? That's how it works. This is not some freaking Ancelotti go out and play type of thing anymore. Okay, he was ready to stay and accept a different contract to play one more season with Real Madrid, but Xabi Alonso and the club decided to go in a different direction with young players. Okay, but then you have this: Xabi requested a playmaker, and the club refused. They spent 60 on Mastananto and the same amount as Zubimani's release clause. Alonso wanted Modric to stay, but Real Madrid refused. So we don't really know what happened. We don't really know what happened. What we do know, is that Alonso, out of all the recent Real Madrid managers, was in 7th place for points per game in his stint with 2.24 points per game, okay? Very good. And Jurgen Klopp says, if Xabi Alonso, who showed for more than 2 years at Leverkusen what extraordinary talent he is as a coach, has to leave Real Madrid only 6 months later, it shows you things are not right. Bro, if that's a true quote, I couldn't agree more with it. I think that's spot on, bro. What this dude did at Leverkusen, people are forgetting, bro. What are you going, a 53-game win streak with that team? So it's, for me, the wrong decision. Now, it's not the wrong decision if the coach doesn't want to be there. And that's kind of what I'm thinking, because I just don't think, with all the success Real Madrid has had, with everything kind of starting to look like it's turning around to build a project, I think Xabi Alonso got fed up, and I think they mutually agreed. I think he probably went in and said, look, I want this to happen. And when we see these managers going out after January, a lot of the time it's because they don't get somebody in January that they wanted, in my eyes. That doesn't mean it's the right opinion, just in my opinion. So, what's going to happen now? I think we're going to see Xabi Alonso. I think this is the realistic approach. Now, we heard that Pep is maybe on the way out. Now, we heard about a couple managers replacing him. Bayern Munich, I don't think, because what they're cooking with company, that's not going anywhere. For me, Liverpool is walking a tightrope with Slot, and I think we will probably most likely see Xabi Alonso in the next couple years manage Liverpool. That is what I fully expect. We've not seen anything from Xabi Alonso at this point. Sorry, that's from my FIFA video earlier. That is showing us that he's not a good manager. He didn't even get the time at Real Madrid. 6 months, man. 6 months. With all those egos at the biggest club in the world, they fire him, they bring in Arbeloa, and they lose a cup game to a team in relegation second division level. Come on, man. And look, the last part I'll put out, right? I put that up for you guys to laugh. Mbappe has been carrying Real Madrid. Mbappe had how many goals in the last year? 65 goals, okay? 65 goals or some crazy amount like that, right? And so Xabi Alonso game planned the team in that Clásico to go out there and give that performance, and they had a chance to win the game, multiple chances, or at least stay level without Mbappe, because even though Mbappe got subbed in, he's not the same. He's clearly injured. He had injections. It's disappointing to me overall. And look, even if Xabi was the decider that he wanted to leave, they said they mutually agreed. It didn't say it was sacked. In the end, Real Madrid was not doing enough to support his project. Okay, and you could blame the players for having egos. That's one thing, right? And I'm sure that's probably true. But in the end, he didn't get the support that he wanted. And I think Xabi Alonso, for me, like, I'm just looking at the situation. I don't know all the facts. Good for him, man. Don't stay somewhere you're not wanted, okay? And I think what he was doing with Real Madrid, I'm not going to say it was the most impressive thing ever, but it was definitely better than what we saw the last couple seasons. So, unfortunate for Real Madrid. I think this is a massive step downwards for Real Madrid. If you're a Barcelona fan today, or the last couple of days, and you're seeing this news, bro, you're probably really excited, to be honest, because there is no way Real Madrid is going to play better under any other manager for the rest of this season than what they were just doing. I think. I mean, if they do, it's because Mbappe and Vini are going hand in hand and going nuts. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to talk about this because this has been on my mind, and I'm back recording, so I wanted to make this video. Peace.